Yeah, Mark, the Burien police chief is clearly upset over a powder keg of a traffic stop between 5 suspected gang members, and the Burien street crimes team. We just spoke with one of the undercover detectives about what happened that night.
As we were arresting the driver is when the chaos kind of started.
A plainclothes detective who is part of the Burien street crimes team explained what happened during a traffic stop along 6th Avenue South Sunday evening. Police identified a group of known gang members in this truck, the driver behind the wheel with a suspended license. Their team decided to move in for the arrest.
People were jumping from back seat to the front seat inside of the car. People were pulling at their waistbands. The police officers were shouting commands to show their hands, put your hands up. When I had my flashlight on the back window of the truck looking in, I could see one of them reaching and pulling something out of his waistband. I actually yelled out to my partners, they're pulling guns, they're pulling guns.
They managed to make the arrest, except for one 15-year-old suspect who a frustrated Burien police chief talked about at a city council meeting last night.
One of the passengers was an intoxicated 15-year-old youth with a prior conviction for possession of a firearm and a current case pending for possession of a firearm on school grounds. The officers recovered firearms from one of the passengers in the vehicle, and other firearms were visible on the floor. When the officers attempted to book the youth, booking was denied. This left the officers with no choice but to take the juvenile home and release him. This case will likely result in the third firearms possession for that 15-year-old youth.
We learned that teen was charged with unlawful possession of a firearm earlier this year for taking a gun onto school grounds at Sylvester Middle School. As part of the conditions of his community supervision, he was not to possess any weapons or consume alcohol.
It's not that we're not out making stops, we're contacting gang members, we're arresting people, we're trying to put them in jail. You know, it's frustrating.
Superior Court presiding judge Laura Enveen defended the decision made by Juvenile Hall, saying it was not made clear to them that the teen was suspected of possessing a handgun.
At the point that the screener was talking to law enforcement, the screener was not given any indication that law enforcement was alleging that this young man, this particular young man, was in violation of weapons laws.
Yeah, clearly there was some sort of communication issue between the police out in the field and Juvenile Hall, but this case really shows how potentially violent these confrontations can be. Reporting live in Burien, Elisa Hahn, King 5 News.